Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of the What Are We Thinking podcast.
Welcome to the show.
We do want to go ahead and before we do anything, give a quick, we'll probably do this a couple times, but a quick shout out to Martin's Coffee and Bakery, not Martin Coffee House, Martin's Coffee and Bakery. They recently redid the name of their franchise because they're wanting to franchise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so we fully support that. We're excited for that. Shout out to the young lady who is staying here late.
Yes, shout out.
And letting us record this podcast, to the owners of Martin's Coffee and Bakery. It is, as a resident of Martin, Tennessee, it is my favorite place in the entire city of Martin. There's nowhere I'd rather be. I would literally rather be here than my own house.
Yeah, not a resident, but love this place for sure.
It's good. I was not in support of the lights having to be taken down, and that's totally just my 2 cents being thrown out there. Yes, I believe they are down. They're still up in the store, but they're down outside of the store.
That sucks.
So it is a bummer because it made our downtown look much cooler. It was a place I always brought my friends. I'm still going to bring my friends to it, but it's just a great restaurant and coffee house. So thank you guys.
Come on, Mayor Randy, get it together, bro.
Please.
What's wrong with you?
And we're just excited, dude. Today, Memorial Day, coming off Memorial Day weekend. Josh, how was your Memorial Day?
So it started with the Murph. That is not something I do. I do work out. We talked about this last podcast, but I don't do things like CrossFit or
it's torture.
Extreme amounts of reps of anything.
Right.
So did the Murph on Monday. Somebody invited me. One of my friends, Dakota Jordan, invited me to do the Murph with him. Did that. Almost died.
Almost died.
I am still sore. Yeah, I am still sore. I am actually. Every time I get up, I think about that day and that moment.
I can tell. I've seen you get up multiple times today. And
I'm not young. I just can't do that stuff
bar,
anymore. So it really did suck. And I've had a good week. And then today, my son asked me to sign off on his senior trip for him and 10 friends to go to Florida together and put my name on their house that they want to rent and expect them to actually do the things that it says to do in the contract. So praying about that.
I'm praying with you.
I don't think I'm even praying about that right now. I'm just like, what am I thinking?
You're just mostly freaking out.
Yeah. I told my wife, and she left the building, so
she didn't even want to talk about it.
I think I know what her thoughts are on that so far. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, you guys, we're all going to pray actually for that situation. We just ask you guys while you're thinking about this, stop for a second, pause this, pray for Josh.
Yeah, the entire family.
For his whole family, that this goes well for Dylan. And we love you, Dylan Crawford.
So how was your week?
It was good. Memorial Day weekend was a failure and a success in a couple different ways. The failure is I got severely sunburnt in the worst way ever. And I knew it was coming. That's why I shaved a little bit. But it was not fun. It's toned down a little bit now. I've kept lotion.
You've done really well. You haven't peeled that bad. That's good.
Let's go. It's my Italian genes, I guess, that are kicking in and capturing this sun and like a sponge. So
are you like the Italian Gallien? Is that
absolutely the Italian stallion Gallien?
Oh, man, that's so good.
That's what literally people call me that. My wife is jealous because she has a tougher time holding a tan, and it's like I could go out in the sun for 1 minute and get a full-on tan. So I did get a sunburn. I was sick the next day because of my sunburn. But the positives that came with Memorial Day for me were really just surrounding our new dog, Margot. I know you constantly see me posting about Margot if any of you follow me on Instagram. She had a good day, though. It was not only like this weekend, she went on her first walk, which is fantastic. She hasn't been able to walk because she hasn't gotten all her shots in. So we did get to take her on a walk. She loved that. She finally slept through the night without waking us up all night long, which is great. She got her first bath, which was less fun than the walk, to say the least.
I bet.
And then somehow the day after she got the bath, we woke up. Mind you, she slept in the bed with us. She's tiny. I mean, she's like the size of a small cat. She slept in bed with us and woke up and found a tick on her head. And so I'm like, great, I have ticks in my bag now. So, I mean, there was positives all throughout. But, overall, it's good. She got some shots today as well. So one more round of shots, and then she's done, and she can go frolic in the grass and stuff like that.
That's awesome. No shaming either, guys. This is a big deal for Pastor Alex and Sam. They have their first dog, their first being in their household besides themselves. That's a big deal. So no shaming, no making fun, no crap here. Just let them have it.
We're not piece of crap, selfish, young married couple anymore. We actually have another life.
That's so cool.
Within our hands. So today, for our headlines section, and for those of you who are kind of wondering what this is, each week, both of us, one week he'll go and find the headlines. The next week I'll go and find the headlines. And we try and keep it not like the other person not knowing what the headlines are, just to get really in the moment impromptu feedback from it. So our headlines for today, I got to pick these out. I'm excited.
Ready to go.
There's our last one. I'm going to do 3. Our last one is kind of funny because it was very off the wall. I didn't see it coming, but it is actually the second most talked about subject right now in the world, which is insane. But we'll start off with our first headline for today. So far, we are being told that the death total for the coronavirus, COVID-19, across the United States is 100,000. But we're also being told that count might not be exactly accurate. Where are you with all of the COVID-19 coronavirus precautions? Well, I don't know. Where are you at with that, dude?
So,
because Josh represents a different generation.
Yeah, the older generation.
Yes.
The more subtle to dying generation
much older,
from coronavirus.
Much older generation.
60. I want to say this. I don't know who's telling the truth. There are so many different numbers. Some people say everybody's counting everything for corona. Some people say, well, nobody's counting corona enough. There's all the crazy conspiracy Christian theories out there that we've all seen and heard.
The fifth seal has been opened.
Yes. The book of Revelation is upon us.
It's the least deadly massive sickness in the history of the world, but it's God.
Right. I know we have this deathly measles thing running around, but I don't know. I don't take any precautions. Right. I haven't worn a mask. Somebody made me one. I looked at it and said, absolutely not. I'm a huge Tennessee fan, but I'm not putting that on my face.
It's got big teeth. It's orange with these white tees all across it.
It's so awesome. Ugly.
He's going to wear it on the 14th whenever we open our doors to the church.
Yes, on stage playing guitar with my
that won't
T
be
mask.
Distracting at all. In fact, I think I feel the presence of God talking about it.
Oh, well, for the tees, I get it. But for sure, there's so many. I can't pay attention to it. It's too much. There's just too much information.
Yeah,
too much misinformation, too much irrelevant information. There's just too much noise around the entire subject. I have no idea what to do.
Same.
And I just do nothing.
I just pretty much keep it to my friend circle.
Right.
And we wait out the storm. I don't know if it's a storm. It might be a storm. It might be horrible. But shout out to our healthcare workers who are doing their best.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, headline number 2 is, of course, and I know this one's going to be close to our hearts, is the death of George Floyd. Made national news with the police officer taking a knee on his neck as he slowly passed out and then was later found to have died, largely in part to that accident. There's lots of stuff happening here. Of course, it's once again bringing the topic of racism to the forefront in our country, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's something we need to approach head on and do whatever we can to actually grow from it, not just talk about it. Of course, the responses are different across the board. You've got the individuals who do not even want to talk about it. You got the people who that's all they, that's what they want to talk about. You've got the people who believe that every police officer is terrible. Of course, that's not even the truth.
Right.
There definitely is some change that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
You've got the rioting that's happening right now. Give us some hot takes on this.
Well, I actually watched the video a few times, and it physically makes me sick. I mean, I feel like this overwhelming lump in my throat, as I'm watching, because I'm not an emotional person, but it makes me tear up. It makes me sick to my stomach to watch a man say, "You're suffocating me," and nobody do anything.
Right.
Not just the cop that's on top of him, but nobody. Everybody just sat there and let that happen. But every time I see something like that, and I know episode 1 for us was racism. We really tried to bring some of that to the forefront. I think our culture, white culture, tried to ignore that Ahmaud Arbery thing. I think they tried to let it go, and now there's another one on their hands, and now, there's all the people that say, well, it's being sensationalized, this whole I think it's time for us to stop pushing it to the side and not just say something out loud, but act. And I know I've talked to several people. One of my good friends, Joshua Forbes from Life Church in Memphis, we had a 2-hour phone conversation about this the other night, and he said one of the things that we could do would be to, when we see racism, like, call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we see something really, really great in the white and black community together, celebrate it.
Yeah.
But whatever we tolerate will become our culture.
Right.
And I feel like that's where we are. We've tolerated this for so long. And white people really struggle with wanting to act on this because they feel like they've done nothing wrong. Even though they're not directly involved, it's still our culture. Like,
yeah, it's just our responsibility.
It is.
You know, I mean, we talked to a man, Nick Gallien. He's an African-American police officer, a good friend of mine, a good friend of my dad's. And we were talking to him, and, you know, it was like he didn't want to say this because he didn't want us to feel some type of way about it. But when I said it, he completely agreed. And the truth of the matter is that for this problem to be solved, it will take white people to step up to the plate and do it. I mean, the African-American community has been obviously trying for, going on hundreds of years now, and nothing's happened. But as soon as white people put a plan in action, it happens because our country is still very much so a white-driven country. And so, you know, just being a part of that however we can, I think that's important. So I would agree with you there. And I do not agree that all cops are racist. I definitely do agree there's a problem there that needs to be fixed.
Absolutely.
Not even just with black people, but with minorities in general.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of rioting. I don't think it really does much, but I do think it is a response that's at least heard.
Right.
I mean, you can't not see that one. You can overlook a Facebook post. You can scroll right past the video. You can't scroll past rioting. So I'm not condoning that, but I'm also not the one hurting. I'm not feeling what they're feeling inside. You know, while I don't condone it, I don't think it's probably the best way. We see you, we feel you, and we just want to do what we can to help. So headline number 3. This one is a little bit more humorous to end on a funny note. The second most popular headline in all of America you got so much happening right now. Trump is trying to bring down executive orders on Twitter, the coronavirus, George Floyd, you name it. And the second most popular headline in all of America is concerning how buying a swimming pool is not a good financial investment. That just blows my mind that's number 2. But Josh, where are you for our listeners who want to buy and own a swimming pool?
It's a terrible idea. It sounds really fun. Your wife and your kids will go, we're going to enjoy this so much. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun, they said, you know, the typical comment. But all I did was work on mine. I sat out there in the summer, sweat, you know, just get pissed the whole time, screaming bugs out of it and leaves and whatever. And my kids are just swimming in it, and I'm just cleaning out the...
Right. I'm the kid.
Yeah.
I've never had to clean out swimming pool. My stepdad did because we have one of the... it's an above-ground pool. He spent a lot of time on it. I think it got used. I think my family may be one of the families, my mom and that side of my family, maybe one of the families that actually genuinely uses a pool to the amount that makes it worth it. I mean, I spend every day in my summers, you know, growing up out there on the pool. And we're allowed to disagree. I want to own a swimming pool one day. All right. I'm being told it's a bad investment. I'll be honest with you. At some point, I'm probably, if my finances allow for it to happen and I have enough money to just kind of throw around and do something special for myself, I'm probably going to invest in a pool.
Pools are like dogs. Like, the kids are like, we'll help you. No, you won't. You will not help me. You will not do anything. You will just swim in it.
Right.
And you will let me do all the work. Now, I did get really good at, like, mastering the art of knowing what to do with the chemicals and knowing what the water was doing.
Right.
But that's a skill that I've never used since.
So as long as I have the money to pay someone to come and do that,
yeah,
totally worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
And you get a saltwater system because everybody else say that. There's all these, like, but my wife and kids have actually asked me since then, like, do you want to get a pool at our new house? And I'm like, no, I don't. Not at all. So
nice.
That's kind of where. Well, I feel like that's where we are with that.
Well, then I guess that concludes our headline section.
Headlines.
Of the day.
Stop it.
Stop every time. Did you hear that?
Oh, you know what that means.
Yeah. It's our Stop It segment for today. This may be the most important segment of anything that we do because we just address topics that anybody needs to hear. Do you want to open up our Stop It segment or do you want me to, Josh?
I'll open it up.
Okay, do it.
What's on the Stop It board today? Loud trucks.
Loud freaking trucks. I'm in a perfect place. I'm downtown Martin. Just the other day, I was on the phone with Josh downtown Martin trying to talk to him, and 7 times, giant loud trucks went past me. And not only were they abnormally loud, it's almost as if they saw me talking on the phone.
They always do.
And they intentionally revved their engines as loud as they could, not only to where I could not hear on the phone and Josh could hear it, but to where it's like both me and my wife almost had to just sit on the ground and cry because it was that bad. So
look, man, people, it drives me insane.
I can't do it.
I don't get it.
I can't do it. Stop with the loud trucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. My dad's gonna. We have a special guest today, and I know he may disagree with this, with him being my dad, but there is absolutely no purpose for your truck to be that loud. It's it's not cool. I used to think it was cool to have super loud subs in the back of my Jeep. I had 212s. They were loud. My Jeep rattled. But looking back on it now as a fully grown, mature adult, I'm realizing, wow, maybe that wasn't as cool as I thought it was.
Yeah, I think if your tailpipe is larger than your tail light.
I didn't know where you were going with that, bro.
Well, I'm trying to I'm censoring myself because these topic subjects are those are the moments I cuss. Like when you don't turn your blinker on.
We don't want that.
When you drive by me.
Right.
With your stupid diesel that's it's just obnoxiously loud.
It's obnoxious.
And you see people, and the first thing you do is your right foot goes to the floor.
Right.
And it's why?
Only 2 things are going to happen. Only one thing's going to happen. Nobody's going to be like, wow, they're so cool. No one. I don't
Unless
know.
they're making fun of you.
Right.
I'll say that. Oh, you're so cool, dude. Thanks.
It's you're setting yourself up for failure. So, all that to say, stop it with your loud trucks. Stop revving them up while I am on the phone. Please take your loud truck somewhere else. Go to some other parking lot.
Go to the farm.
Lot. Yeah, go to the farm with your loud truck. That's fine.
Scare the cows.
Not in the middle of the city, okay? We don't want it. So thank you in advance for getting rid of your loud trucks.
Brought to you by the cuss word beep. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 4. We're going to be talking about why does church suck? It doesn't have to suck, though. It does sometimes.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to suck.
It does.
And I think we have many different opinions of why it sucks.
Yeah.
Some are shallow and don't really matter. We may even talk about those as well.
That's probably most of mine.
Yes. We have Alex's dad, Tommy Gallien, on the podcast today.
Let's go.
Special guest, Tommy Gallien. We're excited to have him today. It's going to be an amazing experience with him. Brought to you by Martin Coffee and Bakery. Another plug for our boys. Thank you so much.
Quite possibly the greatest business that has ever existed in the city of Martin, Tennessee.
Quite possibly. You hear us? Do you hear us, Mayor Randy? Do you hear us?
Greatest
coffee ever.
Need
their lights on the front again. Mayor Randy. Just
please.
Saying that again. Plug. Anybody hears us in Martin?
Please. So we brought Dad in today because, frankly, he's been in ministry longer than either one of us. Me and Josh historically do not have tons and tons of years in ministry, but Dad has been obviously going to church for the better part of most of his life. There was obviously a handful of years where he wasn't active, but then when he got back in church, he got pretty involved pretty quick. Whereas at one point he was just kind of a regular member, attender. Did some things, helped here and there, but then kind of got thrown into the midst of being a leader. When that happened, it happened. There was not a long transition of him going from being just a normal kind of member into really taking on a leadership role. And so he's got a lot of experiences. And me and him share most of our best conversations around the topic of, man, church sucks because of this, or church is great because of this. And so I thought, who better, to have in today to talk about this with someone who has lots of experience in different denominations and different churches, and all that stuff. So, Dad, do you have a hot take real quick? We just did the Stop It segment on loud trucks because growing up, you had a couple of loud trucks. So I'll let you start off with that real quick.
I'm just going to say Flowmaster. And the guys who have loud trucks know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to say I have to disagree with you on that one. There's always a place for a loud truck.
I figured that you would say that. So
I can agree with Flowmaster. I think Flowmaster sound really good. Most of these kids are straight piping it, though. Just straight up. Like,
I'm gonna go with you on that one. I don't like straight piping too much, but a set of Flowmasters that are set up properly that gives the good bass and the growl, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. So, Mr. Tommy, big question. We're talking about church experience, all these things that you have. You've been around this for a long, long time. What are some of the most positive experiences you've had with church?
Well, that's pretty easy.
Just in general.
As far as the most positive experience I had, of course, was finding Jesus. If you want to call that getting your fresh start, getting saved, getting confirmed, anything that you want to call it.
Yeah.
That was absolutely the most positive experience I can say, because without going to church, I don't know how I would have found him. As much as we like to think that we're Christians, we're evangelical. Mm-hmm. No, we're not. Not at all.
No.
We are embarrassed by our churches.
Oh, yeah.
We're embarrassed by Jesus. I don't care what bumper stickers on your car. We're not really reaching out to people. The church is not doing its job. Nope. We have created a bunch of country clubs where we all want to fit in, where we all want to dress the same, where we all want to sound the same, we all want to look the same, and anyone that doesn't fit that mold, come on, we talk bad about them behind their back.
Right. That's right.
But because we put the churches together and someone did invite us, I did find Jesus.
That's good.
And then not only that, to make it even better, I found a small group. At that time, it was a Sunday school class, but I got really lucky, and I've always felt like the Lord's hand was on it. We really became a small group, and that's where we discipled one another.
That's good.
And we really
their Sunday school class, watching their Sunday school class from the sideline, obviously I was a kid, but looking back on it, it's insane to see the people from their Sunday school class, because now they're like leading other churches, and they're not just attending church, they became at one point the main source of leadership for that church, but then now they're like leading other churches, so it's really cool. Actually.
That's intentionality. That's good.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know you're big on that. We don't even do Sunday school at Overflow Church, but we do small groups. Right. And it's the same concept. We just don't meet on Sunday morning right before church. We meet in different people's houses, and it looks different because people are more likely to come to a small group at someone's house than they are to come earlier, even earlier on Sunday morning,
right?
To sit in some, I don't know, half the time they were held in like children's, like nursery rooms. They weren't even in like adult rooms. So
lots of wood paneling,
tons of wood paneling. So with that being, I guess what we would say your most positive church, experience, and the reason we're not just saying Christian experience is because we are really talking about church specifically today. So with that being your most positive one, what is your suckiest? Some of your, it kind of in general, but suckiest church experiences or memories?
Probably the worst experiences in church, it was church splits.
Yeah.
That was the absolute worst, because the church splits, without fail, always came down to preference.
Yep.
Always.
I don't care what reason you had to leave. In the end, if you dialed it back and you talked to somebody long enough, they would be mad at the preacher over this, or this. Half the time, it was just because of their preference.
Right.
They had preferences. And it was really hard to watch how many people got hurt in church splits over preferences, but mostly the hardest thing was watching how damaged the children became because of the church splits.
Right.
Friendships were damaged. We're called to be a body. That's what we're called to in the Bible. It says we are called to be a body that works together. And every time I watched a church split, what I saw was the body separating and fragmenting.
Right.
And not working together.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched other churches tear our church apart, former members tear our church apart. And I know y'all have seen that before, especially I know you've seen that before in the past. That does nothing for the kingdom to tear another church down.
Yeah.
I got saved in a church that people hated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, but I got saved. The church was doing its job.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So That's the worst.
Yeah, it's I hear that, and I think obviously that because I was right there the whole time as well, and at the same time it's like there's got to be a line in the sand versus like preference based leaving a church, or like the really important reasons that you would not go to a church or leave a church or something like that. And obviously when it comes down to like really extreme beliefs and theologies and like I more get that than I do. Mm-hmm. We wanted green carpet versus red carpet. We wanted a steeple. We didn't want a steeple. We wanted there to be a hymn in the worship playlist every Sunday. We didn't want there to be a hymn in the worship playlist on Sunday. That is all super preferential. But it kind of leads me to my next question. And this wasn't on the script, but for someone who maybe finds themselves in a church where they don't feel like they're getting fed, and they've tried to honor, and they've tried to be the change that they wanted. What does it look like to appropriately step away from a church and to go find another one? Because obviously we're not saying that staying at a church forever is like the end all be all. You have to stay at a church. What would it look like for someone to leave a church and do it? What does leaving the church the right way look like? Leaving like not the church, but like a specific one, and maybe trying out another one. What does that look like?
Well, that's one of the things. I'm actually glad you asked this question, because this is one of the positive things I've seen come out of this COVID-19 thing, is people have been way more able to experience other churches with all the other churches going online. And for years I've always thought, this is so stupid that we get upset every time our friends go to another church. We should be visiting other churches to see what's going on. We should be visiting other denominations to see what's going on, to see who we connect with, not to judge.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, to connect with.
I love
the
that,
church
man.
is supposed to be a body.
Right.
But there is a right way to step out of a church, and there's a wrong way to step out of a church. But it also depends on whether you're in leadership, whether you're not in leadership. If you're just an occasional Sunday attender, what they call C&E Christian, okay, you can show up and leave. Christian and Easter Christian.
Right. Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't even know what you meant by C&E.
You can show up and
leave
leave anytime you want. If you're an every Sunday tither and show-upper and all
contributor
that. Contributor. You need to withdraw from everything. And if you're not going to go to everybody in the church, well, I don't think you have to go to everybody in church, but you need at least go to the pastor. You need at least to go to the people around you and say, hey, well, I'm just at a place where I need to do something different.
Yeah.
And you don't need to hold back on that out of guilt.
Right.
Look, this is the most important walk you're going to have in your entire life. And if you're being led away from a church, or you're not being fed, or whatever your reasons are for leaving, do it, get it done with, and then do not talk about your church behind their back.
Right.
Because what you're doing, you're making it so someone else can't go to that church with a clear conscience.
Right.
And so once again, you're creating a stumbling block for the body.
Right.
Every single church out there has something to contribute to the body, no matter how bad they are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're all doing their best as far as they can see.
So good, man.
To become what they need to be in the kingdom.
Right.
We need to. I'm not going to say we need to support them, but we sure as heck don't need to create more gossip, because all gossip does is tear stuff down.
Absolutely.
You just need to follow your conscience on it, but you need to put your feet in action and don't drag it out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's
Do
good.
it, get it done, and move on.
Because a lot of times people stay a really, really long time, and they just get angry.
Yeah.
Because really, like, most people leave churches mad.
Mm-hmm.
The anger comes from selfish reasoning anyway, but that's why they get mad over stuff like carpet. They're already mad about something else, and then that's just the thing that blows up. But people are not happy, and I think if you're a leader in a church, because I hear this from people sometimes, they're like, well, I'm not being fed there, and I'm like, you got to feed yourself, like, for one.
Right.
But if you're not happy somewhere, most churches are just not intentional. It's just there's no purpose, there's no reason, there's no why people are going there. They're just all showing up, and there's nothing driving that. Something we saw, though, we just talked to a church from Alamo a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something that I think is very common, and we're seeing this a lot. I think this is why people are so not intentional. A lot of churches are in survival mode.
Yeah.
Now, it's because the founding pastor. Of course, these churches are 100 years old. There is no founding pastor. They've
Right.
had 15 in the past 12 years or whatever it is, and they don't let the pastor lead.
Right.
Right.
And they say, no, we're going to lead.
No one can follow anybody.
No. Yeah, because so there's no – that doesn't work.
Right.
Like at all. We see that. We see it all the time. And then everybody's just sitting there and nobody's being fed because nobody's doing anything. It's
right.
just they're just stuck.
Well, I just have this thought that's in my head that if we wouldn't stay stuck in a single church, just like we get in that mentality and that habit, I'm going to go to my church. I'm going to go to my church. Well, the problem is when the church becomes my church, we take on ownership. And the more ownership that we take on, the less Jesus can have. When you're going when you first get saved, when you first get in church, yes, you need to go there. You need to learn. You need to be discipled. But at a certain point, and that point doesn't need to be 20 years out there.
Right.
At a certain point, you are going to work in that church. You are going to feed others. You are going to help. Yeah. And as long as you're not taking ownership in a church, which that's a difficult thing to do, no doubt, but not just staying lodged in there saying this is my family's church and working in other churches, let's start taking ownership of a body.
Right.
It's Christ ownership over the body. It would keep arguments over carpet because if you're not just stuck in that church, you don't care about the carpet.
Right.
You care about what's happening in the kingdom.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
More of almost like more of a love for people rather than building. I mean, if there's anything we've had to learn over the past 2.5 months, it's like we just moved into like the coolest building and then we had to like leave it. I mean, it's just as quickly as what we moved into it felt like. And it's forced us to make first things first again, which is building people and loving people and loving, like you said, the kingdom rather than trying to build our own kingdom, which never works anyways. But it's like I've gotten to attend church at 15 different churches during this time because everyone made it more accessible and you get to peek in on what other people are doing and it's
that makes
awesome.
Your church even more healthy because people are drawn to that.
Right.
And if you're a part of a group of people that are doing that, everybody's going to want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a part of people that love people that don't care about anything other than that. And
that
draws people to what you're doing as a group. I mean, we see that all the time. But it's never about the building. It's never about all that other stuff. It's just about people. That's it. That's all it can be. And that's what leaders do. And that comes from your leadership.
Right.
Taking ownership of that and going with it. And because your ownership is it's not about you anymore.
Right.
It's just about God and other people. You're giving the next guy a shot.
Yeah.
You live your entire life in debt. That's how I look at it. I'm in debt to a lot of people that poured into me and grew me. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make those people proud too. That's a part of, why I do what I do. It's not just some of the negatives in my life. It's the positives. I've had people love me when I was so unlovable, and now I get to share that with other people. That's good, man. That's really good.
Speaking of leadership, since that word's been thrown around a couple times, what were some of the most positive? Because you've been a leader. You weren't just in the terms of what we use at our church, we call everyone, we say everyone's a leader, everyone's a contributor, everyone leads in their own way. But there are some people who are legitimately over teams and over groups of people. And, you weren't just a normal church person. You weren't just like a deacon who took up the offering or made decisions. You were a youth pastor. You were my youth pastor for a pretty long time. But you carried a lot of other hats within the church. What are some of your best experiences as a church leader?
Ooh. Best experiences as a church leader. There are so many experiences that are good. My favorite experiences were being able to influence the direction we went.
Right.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're coming out of your prayer closet and you follow the Lord in His footsteps, and then you watch it influence the service.
Right.
Man, there's just nothing more.
There's nothing like it.
At that time when I was in a church, that there was no open door for outside influences.
Right.
But to watch it happen, that was great. But the absolute best experience I had is really come after I've stepped down from that youth pastor position. and it's hearing back from the kids that I discipled.
Yeah, it's good.
Years later.
Right.
And they're like, I still remember when you taught me this.
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching me how to hear the voice of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that make everything worthwhile.
Right.
There's no parent that pats you on the back that makes it worthwhile. There's none of the church members that say, well, you did such a good job with the kids. That doesn't make it worthwhile, because there's so much work that goes into ministry that unless you're there and you're the one doing it, you don't understand. But it's the fruit that you see in the kids' lives later when they avoided the path they were on.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely. And even as a former youth pastor myself, I totally agree. By far my favorite memories have come after the fact. Because in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. This is so awesome. I love these kids. They love me. We're seeing people get saved. But then, like, when they're graduating and they're still virgins, or they're not on drugs, or they're not dating stupid people, it's nice to see, like, man, maybe something that we did mattered, and so I completely agree with that.
So to bounce off that, what are some of the most? 2 questions. What's one of the most negative experiences you had as a leader, and how'd you make it out of it? How'd you navigate through it?
How to navigate through it? Well, negative, because I was involved in youth, would be the parents coming after you.
Every youth pastor says that. Parents.
It's the parents coming after you because Johnny
my dad
said
got it all the
so and so. But what the parents don't realize is little Johnny wasn't listening in service, and little Johnny didn't hear the full thing, and little Johnny put little Johnny's spin on it.
Right.
And little Johnny doesn't want to be in trouble with the parents, so they're trying to get the youth pastor.
Yeah. Johnny always sucks.
And most of the time, it's those same parents who are not involved in the youth and don't know what's going on.
Always.
And now they're stirring something up.
The only, the only parents that I ever caught any flack from were the parents that were the least involved. Always. They were never there. They never helped. They never offered their help. They never asked to drive on a trip. They never helped with fundraisers. They didn't do anything. And then those are the very parents I heard from. And gosh, if that doesn't work its way right back into being a lead pastor. The only people that ever complain, the only people that ever raise their voice in disgust or disdain are most of the time people who also don't carry a whole lot of weight.
Right.
They're the very people who maybe aren't on a team. I'm not saying this is every single case, but a lot of times it's the people that aren't on a team, people that aren't serving, people that don't even show up when it rains. You know those people? Yep. The loudest people and whatever are the same people that don't even show up when it rains. So I would agree with that. So I guess, sorry, I interrupted you on that second question. The second one was, what was it, Josh?
How'd you make it? How'd you navigate through that situation?
Ooh, well, here's the thing. It's really frustrating when you get in the middle of an attack, and because that's what I want to call them, is generally they're personal attacks. They'll say, this isn't personal. But the reality is, yes, it is.
Always.
Yeah, all
because
personal.
you wouldn't attack a friend.
Right.
You wouldn't attack someone you respected.
Right.
You wouldn't attack somebody like that.
You'd believe the best. You'd believe the best.
You're going in to try to tear that person down. But here's the thing. I needed those attacks. I had to have those attacks because those attacks pushed me into my prayer closet. And my prayer closet pushed me right into Jesus and taught me how to listen and taught me how to follow and taught me that it wasn't about Tommy, that it was about his kingdom. And if I had to put up with some slack from some uninvolved parents that didn't know any better on behalf of him so that maybe their kid wouldn't get knocked up on graduation night, then I could handle it because he would always tell me, you're working for me and I have your back.
Yeah.
So good, man.
That's right.
Now you just go do what I've told you to do and I'll take care of the rest and quit getting down in the mouth about it.
Right.
And I'm not going to say I didn't struggle with it because yes, I did.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Days,
you know?
I flopped myself down in front of that altar and was just like, no! Like she said, stop it!
Yeah, stop
and he would always say, no, step forward.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
I love that, man. All right, so to end us out today, man, that's so good. To end us out today, if you had one change that you could make, one word of advice, one piece of information, and I say to end us out today, to end myself out, because Josh may have another question he wants to ask. If you have one way that you could say, This is what we could do as the body of Christ, as people, as believers, as leaders, as whatever, to make church suck less. What would that be? And it may not just be one thing, it may be two things. But to make, for those of us who've experienced, I don't know, I feel like everyone has experienced bad moments and has bad memories with church, to make less of those and to just make church suck less. What would some advice or a takeaway that you would have for us?
Well, there's two things that I would suggest doing. One, you have to change your perspective about the church, period, because we live in a democracy. And to us, everything is a vote, but we forget that it's God's kingdom.
Right.
And in a kingdom, it's not a democracy, and your preferences just absolutely don't matter. What matters is His will, and your preferences may jump right in front of His will and stop that from happening.
Wow.
Oh, you can't stop God's will. No, His ultimate will, no, it's going to happen. But the little things He wants to have happen in your life, absolutely. You can stop them. The things He wants to have happen in your kids' life, you can absolutely be an awful influence on your kids.
Yes.
So the thing that I would do is I would take that to prayer and say, teach me what a kingdom looks like and how to see this through your eyes, Lord. Period.
That's
not
good,
my
dude.
eyes. It's got to be through your eyes, because we'll never get it because of our democratic mindset.
Yes.
And then the other thing I would say, quit depending on your pastors to mentor you. Get on your face and read your Bible.
That's so good,
have a quiet time. Have a worship time. That worship set that they do before the preacher preaches is not your worship time.
It can't be.
We are the most... have the most things available to us compared to any other generation as far as preaching and worship. We have YouTube.
Right.
Everything, YouTube, iTunes, whatever, we have everything we need out there to have our own quiet time, our own worship time, our own everything. Don't let the preacher teach you about the Bible. You get in there and you learn about it.
Absolutely.
That information is there at your fingertips.
All of it.
And it's so much better than Pinterest and Facebook. At the end of the day, that should be your influence, not those other two things. If you get in the Word and you get into prayer, you will quit complaining and you'll jump in and start helping.
Right.
Because it will become about the people and not about you.
That's good. Dude, I can attest to that. I am a preacher, pastor, whatever. I've never been to seminary. Did I go to the Ramp School of Ministry? Yes. Did I learn tons and tons about the Bible there? Maybe not as much as I thought I was going to. There were so many incredible aspects to it, but it was not seminary. It was far from seminary. The deepest study I've ever done with the Bible and going deep and learning about it, I've done all of that through online. Because there's people out there. Like you said, there's tons of content on YouTube. There's tons of podcasts. There's tons of articles. Now, you have to put in work. Most of us don't want to put in the work, and that's why we pay a pastor, right? So they can put in the work for us, and we can just win from them, right?
Win some for us, pastor.
Do the work we should be doing.
Exactly.
We'll pay you to do it, and we'll take credit for it.
They forget the body's supposed to minister to the body. That's how it works.
Right. So I just would agree with that and saying I preach, but if people did the work themselves, there would not be a sermon. I don't think there would be a sermon that I could preach that would make someone go, whoa, I never thought about that. Because every source of content, information that I'm getting is available for everybody. Yeah. I mean, God is available. Even the things that I get straight out of the prayer closet, guess who else can hear that? You can. He's the same God who says the same things to His children. It's not, it's not as complicated as we make it.
Well,
I totally agree.
I think people's biggest fear and I've heard it, they say, well, what if I get it wrong? Because people don't like to be wrong.
Right.
They'll be wrong trying to play tennis. They'll be wrong trying to drive their car. But they're so afraid of what their friends will say about them if they get something wrong in church. I mean, let's just be real about it. There's some verses hidden in the book of John. And I say they're hidden because it seems like nobody knows they're there. And it starts talking about the Holy Spirit who will teach you all things.
Right.
If you can break out that word all and get the Greek meaning, so we make sure and we get this right. I'm pretty sure all meant all.
Yeah.
He'll teach you how to drive. He'll teach you how to study. He'll teach you how to talk to people. He'll teach you how to use the right language. He'll teach you what the Bible means if you'll pay attention and if you won't try to do it as a microwave thing and do it overnight.
Right.
The Holy Spirit will teach you all things. You can't be afraid.
Right.
I don't remember the apostles being afraid.
Never.
Well, I'm not sure they weren't afraid. But they didn't say no.
Yeah.
They didn't say, no, you go do it.
They never said, fear gripped the apostles.
Or we'll pay you to do it.
Right.
They just dug in and said, here we are. How do you think the Bible got written?
Right.
Holy Spirit.
Yep.
Right.
Well, if he can write a Bible, he can he can retrain your thinking to think kingdom.
Yes. 100 times yes to that. Josh, you got anything, man?
Gonna say this really quick. I agree people are afraid. I also agree people are lazy. I also agree people really care more about living the American dream than they do the church.
Yep.
People care way more about our country than they do the church.
Chelsea, look, bring it over to me real quick. Nationalism may be the greatest sin of the American church. I know we like to say that it's, I don't know what, pornography or lust or pride. No, nationalism is. Our church people in America are more interested in, more addicted to, more concerned with politics and our president than we ever have been, Jesus. Ever. I think in the history of the church, period, American church people, American people who would consider themselves Christians, as a whole, I'm not saying this goes for every single person, but we idolize politicians. We idolize nationalism. I believe will go down in the history of one of the greatest sins and downfalls of the American church. Hot take.
And that's a real take. To me, it's not even that high. It's just real. It's just, it is what it is. People care so much about the country, and anytime you say anything about it, they mask it with patriotism and our soldiers, who I have family who have fought in wars, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Like, we have serious issues in our country, and instead of going to God for that, instead of like trying to be a solution, we push God away from it. Like, you can't solve this. It's not. It's these other guys that are going to solve all these problems, and they can't. Like, they can't. They're not even equipped to, for one. But yeah, churches, people in church, care a lot more about that than they ever have about the gospel. They'll read the history of our country, the history of every president. They'll read about Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all this other crap, and they won't even read one thing about read one book in the Bible, like
nothing.
One. You ask them to, I don't have time, but like I gotta watch Fox News.
I
gotta watch 34 hours of Fox News every 2 days. It's part of my routine, and like I'm sorry, but like that's not where you get it from, Fox News or any news station is just as bad as Facebook and Pinterest. I mean, it's like people are glued to it, but we're so distracted. We're just
incredibly
so distracted by so many different things. And then we go to church when I'm not being fed. You don't feed yourself at all.
Never.
You got the football coach as your pastor. And if we were really a team, we would be the most god-awful team ever put on a field somewhere. We would be the Cleveland Browns. Sorry. I'm like, that's what we would be. We would be the Cleveland Browns. We were like, they'd be like, how did you even become a team? You guys are terrible. Like, who's your coach? And look at the pastor. He's like, well, I try to tell him what to do. Nobody will listen.
Just wouldn't do it.
There's all this arguing. Nobody will get on. Nobody will get on the same page. And that's what we strive not to do. Like, that's a thing for me. That's something that I always want to like push people away from. It's not about individualism. We talked about this with Josh Forbes this week. Like, the Christianity as a whole is an Eastern religion. It's not about individualism. It's not about being an individual. It's about being a community.
Right.
That's what it's about. And building community, doing things as a community. The Church of Acts, that's a community.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with standing out or being the one or anything. It's about a community. And we miss that because America says be an individual.
Yeah.
Instead of be a community. And so we're always striving for that. That's my take on our church.
So I guess if I could sum all of this up into a quick kind of like a one summation of what we've talked about. If we don't want church to suck anymore, then we need to make it that way. It's up to us. It's up to you. It's not up to your pastor. It's not up to the rest of your church. It's just up to you. If you want to grow in God, it's up to you. If you want to become a better member at your church, it's up to you. If you're tired of church being the way that it is and it's not feeding you, then it's up to you. Go out there and change it. If you don't want church to suck, then do something about it. And do it the right way? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that sum it up?
Stop blaming the music.
It's on you. It's on you.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, anything else you want to say before we roll out? Dad?
Basically, I would say this. I know if I have to work without purpose, it sucks.
Yeah.
And if you're going to church without purpose, it's going to suck. And if it doesn't suck today, it's going to suck next week. It's eventually going to get to the point that it sucks because you're doing it without purpose.
Right.
If your only purpose was to get saved, then I wish you'd get saved and I wish you would die.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because God did not save you so that you would sit there purposeless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He saved you because you have a purpose.
Right.
So I think that would be for anybody that's struggling with church and saying it sucks or you're bored or whatever. I would say you need to get on your knees. You need to get in prayer. And you need to find out you need to find purpose.
That's so
because
good.
Church will not suck the moment that you have purpose.
And preferences die when you have purpose too.
Yeah, because you don't care about them.
You don't care because you're
people.
aimed at something different. Yeah. So, well, Dad, thanks for coming on today. Thanks for doing this. He literally left the job site to come and be here today with us. So thank you for doing that. What an honor and privilege it has
Thank you so
been
much.
to have you. He's
great.
my mentor, one of my pastors. So how cool this has been. Thank you so much. I love you for coming and doing this. I love you even if you didn't come and do this. But Josh, you got any last takes, dude, before we roll out?
I gotta say it, man. Stop blaming the music.
Stop it. It's our second Stop It segment.
It just, I'm telling you, man, like, everybody does that. Well, they just got that different music. No, your church sucks because you suck. Because you're just not doing it. You have no purpose, no drive, nothing, and you go, well, the other church has music. Stop saying that.
It's not
if
the
you
music.
do hymns, do them really well. Stop getting pissed off and blaming all the other churches because they're doing something and you're not.
Right.
And it's not the music. It's not the music.
It's
stupid.
it's
stupid
you.
argument. Just
It's
shut
you.
up. I'm so tired of hearing it. Makes me want to walk out like oncoming traffic every time I hear it. Like I literally get so mad. I just want to walk out in front of a car. A loud truck.
Fantastic. They did not use their blinker. No.
They don't even have their blinker on. They just hit me broadside, kill me.
All right. Well, you heard it here from us. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4 of What Are We Thinking? We hope this was rich, valuable. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave a review. Share this. Like it. Leave a comment. Whatever. I just knocked my microphone around, so it probably made this weird noise. But we love you guys. And be sure to email us. Email us at, what is it? whatwithalexandjosh at
gmail.com.
gmail.com. If you have any suggestions of some topics we should hit on, text us, call us, message us, whatever. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.